Welcome to The Learning Landscape. My name is Simon Matthews. This podcast is supported by Independent Schools Tasmania. Today we are speaking with Bethany Armstrong from Northern Christian School. Why don't we just start with you introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your role at the school, and tell us a bit about your school. Would it be helpful to get some context for your school?
Yeah, wonderful. So I'm Bethany. I've got the honour to be the principal of Northern Christian School. We are located in Bridgewater, Tasmania. We're an independent school, and we're also part of an association of Christian Schools Tasmania. So we're a network of 4 Christian schools in the Hobart region. We are a primary school, so we're kinder to year 6. About 170 students. It's definitely a diverse and a resilient community. Many of our families do face significant social and economic challenges. Our ICSEA level is 952, which is below the national average. Despite this, we've got a pretty clear vision that, we want to provide the highest quality, Christ-centred education to equip our students for life now and in the future. We've got beautiful students, as all schools do. We really truly believe that our students deserve the highest quality teaching, high expectations and opportunities, because we want them. We think this opportunity we have, they deserve the best opportunity they have at school, and we have that privilege to be able to provide that for them. My role as principal is, I was looking at my position description recently, and really my role as principal is to provide the educational leadership of the school and to lead the vision and mission of our school. So I need to be involved in leading the education of our school, because we are education and we are about teaching and learning. So that probably has kind of increased my awareness more and more as I've learnt about instructional leadership, is that it's actually the principal's role to be leading teaching and learning in the school, and it's our core business as well, and it has to be the central focus of our school.
So that's obviously you and your school are on a journey. Take us back to, say, before or at the time that the minimum schooling guarantee came in. What was literacy, teaching and learning like at Northern Christian School? Just give us a bit of a description of that, and then we will work our way through unpacking what you've done.
Yeah. So the literacy guarantee, it was first kind of, we knew something was coming, and then in 2023, I think it was May or June, we received kind of more communication about that. It was very much early on in the journey. At Northern at that time, it was interesting because our organisation, Christian Schools Tasmania, had changed their strategic plan. It was quite easy for us because we knew we had to plan differently, because they had, in their teaching and learning pillar, they had made it very clear that data and the best research needed to inform teaching and learning, through a Christian worldview. So, it came at the right time. At that time, we were trying to we thought we were doing a great job. But the reality was there was a lot of inconsistency. There was a more focus on tier 3. So that's your, and we had a lot of students in tier 3, who should not have been. We weren't focusing more on tier 1. So we had MacLit a literacy intervention already introduced, and then we had mini-lit as well. That was in 2023. So that's for the lower years. It was interesting. Our data at that time, there was inconsistencies, and I was quite challenged by that. There was a literacy consultant who came out and looked at our data and said, "You're not actually teaching structured literacy." And I said, "Oh, we are." And she said, "Let's look at your data." And our reading, writing and spelling was completely different. And if you're if you are teaching structured literacy, there should not be actually a lot of differences in that data. So our data showed that very different instructional practices between each class, expectations. So it really kind of, people were just trying to do the best that they could, but it was very clear we were still focusing too much on tier 3. Then we were focusing on tier 2, but it didn't make sense because our tier 1 instruction should have been what we should have been focusing on. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's such a helpful way to start unpacking that, to give us a picture of where you were.
Yeah.
You referred before to this idea of you being accepting for yourself and being expected of you to be an instructional leader. Help us understand what that means. What does that mean for you? What is it when you hear instructional leader, instructional principal? What does it actually mean? And tell us a little bit about what that looks like for you day to day.
Yeah. So probably instructional leadership means, for me and the leadership team at Northern, is that we make sure teaching and learning is a central part of the work that we are doing as a school, and that we are leading that, but we are supporting teachers to be the best teachers that they can be, the best teacher aides, and that our students are getting the best learning opportunity. So probably one question that we've pondered this is, we need to make sure that every single child in the school, even in kinder, have the highest quality teaching that they need to have. So that even means in kinder that, we are doing phonemic awareness every single day from the start of the day in kinder. Probably with instructional leadership, schools are busy places. My email box is very full some days. There's compliance matters. But we're all busy. But it can be, you can get caught up in stuff that you don't actually need to. So day to day is probably, big part is building teacher capacity. So some of the things we do is walkthroughs. That happens throughout the week. So we have a Google form, and that's based on our focuses for the year. It's all informed by data, the best research. So teachers are observed, and they love being observed, but it's all factual of what we see, what's good practice, things for them to ponder on. One big thing was even that going, if we want our teachers to be the best teachers, we need to make sure that we remove barriers so they can be. So a big thing that we did was, and this was, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it, but every class now has 2 hours of literacy in the morning that's uninterrupted, except on a Friday for a few classes. There's 3 classes for about half an hour. But we make sure that our literacy time is valued, that is really precious. And that has meant juggles that specialist teachers don't start their specialist subjects until recess. And you're probably thinking, do the specialist teachers just get release all morning? No, they have a part in their timetable. It's called schedule release time. And that means that they'll hop onto another teacher's class, and then it means that teacher can go and see great practice happening. The other thing, so we've done things like that, even removing things from our calendar. We want to make sure, we are a school community. We want to make sure we still have assemblies, but we've questioned, why is a why of assemblies? How often do we have them? Why are we having these events? Just make sure that our teaching learning is our focus. Probably the big thing is making sure that we're always looking at data, and that's a normal conversation at Northern. So celebration of data is a standing agenda item in our staff meetings, and so that is, staff love it, and every time a child makes an improvement, I always get an email. They send the Teaching Learning Richmond an email and the head of curriculum, but, they're so encouraged, and the parents, hear that too. But probably another thing is that we're not looking at data just a few times a year, because what we've implemented in structured literacy is that we do a lot of progress monitoring. So it means that we are looking at every child to make sure that they are progressing. So they might be maybe a bit higher in their learning journey, or maybe a child who's just not has just started the learning journey. We want to make sure that every child is progressing. And even making sure that, big thing is making sure that teachers are resourced. You're probably thinking, did we get a lot more money? No, we didn't. We got a little bit of money for decodables. We spent a lot more, but really we need to be budgeting for teaching and learning. So we have made sure that we are doing structured literacy because we have got good programs we've purchased. We've got staff off class, making sure that they are doing observations, but making sure that, we have everyone's on the same page doing fluency as a school. We've resourced even with study tours, but we've made that as a priority. So what does it look like in practice? Visiting classrooms all the time, looking at data. Professional learning is probably one thing. I think it's really important as a principal, you kind of can handball different things to other staff, but you need to make sure that you're learning as well. So and Steve Capp, he's a principal from Victoria, he really challenged me on this. He said you need to make sure that you are ahead of where staff are. So make sure you're listening to podcasts, you're reading a lot, and that, if you are doing structured literacy, if you're implementing something new, make sure you're leading it, or if someone else is leading it, you make sure that you are at every PD so that you are on the same page. So that's probably, I don't know if I've answered that.
No, you have. And it's interesting you say that, because I just want to reiterate a point you've made. I mean, the thing I'm hearing from you and I've seen in your practice is that you are as knowledgeable or more knowledgeable than the teachers you're asking to implement the program. You know that much. Even though you're principal, even though you don't have a full teaching load, you're saying, I know this and I understand it and I can model it and show it.
Yeah, and I don't have a teaching load at all, but it means that I can, and it's probably the most important thing is, like, when you are, as an instructional leader, is you making sure that you are unpacking the why, you back it up by evidence and by data, and that you are knowledgeable in that. And if you don't know, keep asking questions. Like, so many interstate leaders, and even in Tasmania, have been so generous with me and our staff. Sometimes I've received 20 emails from me because I just haven't understood it all, going, I'm not sure about this, can you look at this? And yeah.
Let's unpack two things that you talked about. One is teachers and one is students. So let's start with teachers. Let me just give you a high level, what I think I heard, and then you come and unpack it. So you're saying, okay, we do research, we find the programs, we make sure it's evidence-based, we take it back to the class, to the school, we train the teachers, they put it into practice, we then are doing walkarounds, we're providing feedback and we're refining and, using the data. So is that, tell us about that arc of learning from, hang on, we're not doing anything through to, we're doing it all the time and we're getting feedback on how it's going, and I'm being instructed as a classroom teacher on what's working and what's not.
Yeah, so probably... Do you mind repeating that?
Sure.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. No, this is a conversation. It's good. So the question is, how do you move teachers from not doing something through to being really competent at doing something? And the things I heard you saying were like, we did research, we've identified a program, but then obviously you've got to do the PL, don't you? You've got to train your teachers, and then you've got to let them put it into practice, and like anyone, they're going to put it into practice poorly, but then you're going to try to lift that performance, and you're doing walkthrough. So just tell us about that broad arc of how you're not doing something through to, wow, they're now doing it really competently. And I'm focusing on teachers here.
Yeah, so probably one is when we see really good practice happening. So I'll let you know. So at the moment, we've had to focus on autographic more because that was something that spell initial isn't as strong, and our students just needed another hit of that, and data showed that. And we've implemented that, and we've had a teacher who's just a standout with that. But we make a big thing of that, where we say, can you show that? Can you demonstrate how you do daily review with your pacing to us in a staff meeting? So every staff meeting is a teaching and learning focus. So that's another thing, saying like when we see good practice happening, we show it off. So even if, so I'll give you another example, is a big focus for us is in semester one, we've been focusing on how we do fluency. So we have really kind of like a playbook of how we do fluency at Northern, and we've got them to demonstrate to each other of how they do that. So if we've seen good practice happening, we'll say, Sally, can you come and demonstrate that at the next PL? In probably one thing, Simon, is I'll give you an example. So we've had some new teachers start this year, and before they even start, we make sure that they do a science. So the PD that they do is like science of learning, science of reading before they even start. And we're very clear in our interview, this is how we do literacy at Northern, this is how we do at numeracy. But it's pretty overloading because we've made quite a lot of change. It actually hasn't felt like that, because teachers have just said, I finally get to teach. Even say when a new teacher starts, normally at some schools their induction is done over 1 to 2 days. Well, that's pretty poor practice. It should be done throughout the whole year. So new teachers have kind of their induction is paced throughout the whole year. So like there was recently a PL for one aspect of structured literacy, and then that's just a reminder for them. How we get it into practice. Can you ask that question again, Simon?
Sure, yeah. Sorry. I'm just interested because you're not just working with one teacher and making it work, like you're moving the whole teaching cohort forward. So what are the sort of things that you're doing to train, to equip, to lift the bar, to provide feedback? What does that look like in your school, specifically around teaching and increasing capability for teachers?
Yep, probably would be, so really we're very clear of what good practice looks like. So we've bought the purple EDI book for every staff member, every teacher, and that's a gradual, and so our explicit model is actually the gradual release of responsibility framework. So we will focus on aspects of that per year. So at the moment, it's making sure that we're doing TAPL really well. So they do PL refreshers on TAPL, even though they've done that before. And then in class observations, that's what we're actually looking for. And then they get data about how they're going on that as well. I don't know, Simon, it's interesting because I think one part is just going back to the why of why we are doing this. And going, you know what, we can't do everything at once, but let's go back to our data again. So we're always looking at data. So recently, some of our prep students were not where they should be. And so we spoke to the teachers, the teacher showed us the data as well and said, you know what, okay, let's make a plan together. So it's a hard one. They're really, it's interesting. Like, I think if you continue to go back to the why and making sure teachers have the time. So we don't have staff meetings every week, and every staff meeting has a focus is actually PL, and we've given our staff a lot of, so one thing is we have sentence level work is really important in structured literacy. That actually covers your grammar and your syntax. If you do that really well, you have great writers. And so what we've done is we've actually given them time to actually work on that, and even resourcing for them to go and observe other schools as well. But Yeah.
Yep, yep. Just sounding very holistic
Yeah.
around the fact that everything is coming back to this conversation. Talk to me about student data now. You said early on, we spend a lot of time looking at data. Help me understand, when and how do you collect it? When do you look at it together? How do you make decisions about what's coming next when it comes to student data? What does that sequence look like at Northern?
Yeah, so we have a data plan. So our teaching and learning enrichment coordinator, she did kind of like, it was quite a long, like a master class with Selena, like over a few months. Yeah. So it's kind of, data is kind of the part, it's kind of the normal part of the dialogue at Northern. It's not a one-off of, okay, we're looking at our PAT at the end of the year. Yeah. One big thing is our Tier 1 programs have very good assessments, and there's a lot of progress monitoring. So that means that teachers are looking at it all the time. So it's really your formative assessment. It's not summative at the end. And then we can make decisions, based on that, where they can kind of go, okay, I need to go back to that topic or change my daily review to make sure that they get another burst of this concept. They're always consulting one another, so they're always collaborating. Okay. So if you go to the staff room at Northern, at the end of the day, a lot of them sit around at the table and they will be talking to one another, but they have regular meetings with our head of teaching and learning enrichment coordinator focusing on that. So her role is a big part is looking at data, but it's not but school-wide, like if you're looking at data, it makes operational planning so easy. So also like So all strategic plans in a school have a teaching and learning focus, and it's a teaching and learning pillar. You would hope that they would have, I think most schools would have data and research informing teaching and learning. So if you're looking at your data and you're doing a triangulation of data, you will see very clearly what you need to work on. So I'll give you an example. We noticed that we needed to work more on fluency. So what is our operational focus? One of our operational focuses this year is to make sure that we have a fluency protocol for the school and that our data increases. Now, since we've implemented that, our fluency in Dibbles has increased significantly, and we're already seeing it, and it's not even the end of the year. So
you would make that a focus across the school. It's not just like that class or that kid. Like we need this across the school.
Yep, absolutely, and that's on with everything. So we've even gone down to the minute of how fluency is done in the school, how long you do sentence level writing, how long you do your phonics for your daily review. We've even got what rich texts teachers are doing, the books that they're doing. So, and we wanted to make sure that our students had a rich diet of really rich texts. I think at times in primary schools, you kind of can get them, just give them, quite easy books, and it's like, what, they want to read stuff of ancient civilizations and, get their, they're very capable students. So that's, so we have very clear scope and sequences in the school, and it's quite, there's a lot of consistency in the school, but And
I like that word consistency that you use, because when I was sitting here I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of really clear direction going on, so it doesn't sound like teachers choose their own adventure here with pedagogy.
No, and it's interesting, relief teachers have said, we love doing relief at Northern because it's so easy. It's the same in every class. I know what's expected. Right. And the other thing is, like, I have had feedback from other schools saying, you don't let teachers be creative. And like, you see our teachers in actions. They're so creative when they're doing the scripted lessons, and they bring their own stories in, and they themselves, like all teachers, are individuals, they're all unique and they're all gifted, but you see that creativity still in their teaching. But it's really nice that we know that any child in any class is getting high quality teaching. And like even how we look at, say, our spelling and phonics is a low variance curriculum. So when they move up each year level, spelling and phonics is taught exactly the same in every class. And that's the same in the whole for any part of literacy. That it reduces the cognitive load, going, okay, I know what the expectation is. Teachers, and it reduces the teacher's cognitive load too, because they go, oh, it's the same. Okay. And even for students as well, they go, okay, I know what actually is expected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you talk just a little bit about I know when we met up at your school once, and you described to me, and I'm using the wrong language here, but you sort of talked about a behaviour curriculum. And your point was, unless we have consistency around how students behave and are engaged with and how we respond as adults, it's just going to be a dog's breakfast, but we're going to have real consistency. So just talk us about that bit of your growth journey and how that has set you up for success with the literacy learning.
Yeah. So that has set us up. So we visited in 24, we visited Chelsea Heights Primary School and Bentley West. Yeah. And I was amazed at, when I went into these schools, how calm, how settled they were. And I thought, wow, like their transitions are so clear. It was very clear, their expectations of this is how we transition, and they're lining up in line order. And you could just see that even when the bell went in the morning, all students went to class. Like the expectation was there weren't a few out of class, they were all in class learning. And so I was quite challenged by that. I remember having a chat to, both of the principals there at those schools, and I said, I'm not sure if it will work because, in a lower demographic, and they're like, no, it works at any school. You need to have high expectations and you need to keep teaching your expected behaviour. And they said, if students don't know the expected behaviour and they're not taught that, they're not going to do that. And it was really encouraging because we came back from that. It was, incredible. And then we ended up taking teachers in a holiday, in their holidays again, and they were so encouraged. They came back and they said, can we just try a few things? So we tried, lining up, and then we got reading a lot. So read a lot of Tom Bennett's things, read a lot of stuff off Arrow. Like Arrow has great stuff. We rely on them a lot. And we saw, I'm not joking, a difference in a few weeks of how calm the school was, and even expectations of how calm students would go to class straight away at the start of the day, after recess and lunch, and we would say, this is learning time now. And even consistency that we all line up in alphabetical order. We now have transitions of how they transition, say, from the floor to the desk. We have norms, so these are called, norms. So we have norms for assembly, for lineup, and we just didn't. And we have to read, sometimes we get upset, and it's like, actually, we haven't reminded our students of the expectations that, and even like, this is how we use whiteboards, or this is the expected behaviour in class in literacy. This is what we want now. And it's been like, it has transformed the school, Simon, and even our data. So we use a program called Sector, and the amount of suspensions has gone down significantly. And the other thing is, it's all low level, and parents have noticed. And like one of the parents said, and I asked her if I could share this, she was, her child has autism and was quite against, I received an email when we implemented everything. Not everything, we started looking at this, and they were not happy. They said, it's not being inclusive. And we said, well, we're actually, we want school to be, reliable, predictable for students, this is going to help your child. Anyway, 6 months after, I received an email saying this has been the best thing I've seen, the change in the school, which is great. But even parents know the expectations as well. Like now we've got even consequences. Students know that Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, it's exactly the same in any class. Any teacher that they have, it's the same consequences, same warnings. But we've got norms for everything. Like we're at the moment, we are working on a norm with transitioning around the school because, they need to know that other classes are learning, and you show respect and kindness by walking quietly, but we actually need to teach students that. And if they're not doing it, follow up with consequences. And then when you do that, you make sure that you teach them the expectation again. But no, it's been great.
Yeah. So I've heard some stories about, putting this behaviour curriculum in place, these high expectations. You talk about working with your teachers and just giving them every opportunity for success, the resources, the time, the training, the feedback. Talk to us about what you're seeing in your data. So over the last, if you think of your data from 24, 25, 26, what are you seeing in that? How's it turning up in the data?
It's turning up very well. I'll share some with you. Sorry.
Okay.
We're very, we're pretty excited. So I'll just read some. Cool. So literacy data, Dibbles has shown an incredible growth in phonemic awareness, decoding, oral reading fluency, more students achieving benchmark, fewer students require intervention, which is great because more and more students are in that Tier 1 as well. Yeah, right. Another thing I forgot, Simon, to say is even if, making sure literacy is protected, one really big thing is a lot of schools will get students out of literacy and then are missing on great instruction. So we do all of our intervention groups after lunch. So there's 5 intervention groups after lunch, but then they're not missing out on the Tier 1 of literacy and numeracy before lunch. And that's been, and then they're getting another burst, another review, and they've been in class for that Tier 1 instruction. So I wanted to say that before I forget. So the other thing is reading data. So I'll even share this. So increasing from 87.4, this is PAT reading data overall, 87.4 in 2021 to 113.1 in 2025. It's pretty good. We've also seen growth in all percentile bands in band, indicating that improvement is occurring across the entire student cohort rather than just the high achieving students or those kids who were getting great Tier 3 instruction, which we were focusing on before. And these change, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but with literacy, because we've made these changes, it made it really easy for us. It has it's transferred to other learning areas as well. So even for maths, we have a low variance curriculum now. It's a gradual release model way of teaching. We have daily review. It's exactly the same in every class of how we do fluency. But our maths results have already improved as well, and there's consistency. NAPLAN results is strong growth from Year 3 to Year 5, with growing often exceeding that of students with similar starting scores nationally. We're pretty pleased with our improvements in writing, and because of and you can see the focus of the writing revolution and explicit vocabulary instruction and use of rich texts. Probably the main thing we're pretty excited about is that our students are, so from other schools that are similar demographics, we are well beyond them. So we've seen you would think because we only started this strongly in 2024. Really, it was more like a planning stage in 2024, but we're already seeing the impact of this in our NAPLAN. And we're just not seeing our high achieving students improve. We're seeing growth amongst all the cohorts of students. So I think that shows you that if you get your Tier 1 instruction right, if you're doing really well. And it's so much easier. Like teacher said, why were we focusing on that? We were working so hard, and now we just get to focus on teaching and learning of all our students. Like,
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. You've talked a lot about what you've brought in. Tell us what you're not doing anymore. 3 years in, what have you stopped doing?
What have we stopped doing? Yep.
Yeah.
We have stopped doing silent reading. Okay. What a waste of time. So they do a little bit of independent reading. Our students read at home, like our parents really support reading, which is great, and our kids do. So that we are not doing mix match of you can do whatever you would like for different things. It's consistency. Kind of like we've just kind of making like asking ourselves questions. Does this improve teaching and learning? And some teachers didn't want to give up different things, but then when you ask the why, when you listen, and you say the why, they're like, oh, actually, okay. And probably a big thing was getting staff on side, was making sure they went on the study tours. Like independent schools were very generous doing these study tours, and then we had a consultant who said, no, we'll take the team from Northern on another one, and then they did another one so they could see it themselves.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and even just asking the question, going, does it align with our strategic plan? Is it best practice? Yeah. We reviewed events. So we've taken a lot of events off because we were like, we've got to remember we're a school and going, okay, what events are we doing? Looking at different initiatives. Why were we doing that? Like, what a waste of time. We weren't even seeing any impact. Like, we had this big, and it was hard because it was part of our strategic plan on visible learning. I'll be honest, we saw nothing from that. And even how to write learning intentions, it wasn't even the EDI model about how you write it as a concept and skill. That, and saying goodbye to that, saying to staff, you've got permission to say goodbye to that,
Wow,
so
that's great.
that was helpful.
That's really clear.
And even just saying with me, like even things like we've had to have in the last few years a big focus on the zones of regulations. We don't really need to. That is still one of our wellbeing focuses, but we don't, because our students now know what's expected of them in Tier 1, and we remind them of that, and we just don't, they are a lot more regulated. Probably saying no to different things with resources, going, no, this is our priority for this year. I'm going to make sure that every teacher is upskilled in this. And these are our operational focuses, and we're going to say no to that. But we haven't had pushback, Simon. Like our staff are very committed that they want every child to have the best education, and they want to learn from each other. Like they're always asking, or you see them on their release time. They just go in and observe another teacher. Like it's a normal practice at Northern.
Yeah. No, it's really clear, really clear. I'm conscious we're drawing close to our end. Just talk to me about what are some things that you've taken this, because this just sounds like a massive 4-year journey for you as a leader.
Yeah.
What are some things you've taken away as a leader from this journey?
Probably was that it's not about finding the next program. You need to have a holistic view of it, and really have kind of, Steve Cap challenged me on this, is, you've just got to, you have your vision of, of what you want it to look like, make sure that's informed by data and research and aligned with your school vision, but going, okay, what are you going to focus on this year, the next year, and making sure we have systems that actually teachers can thrive, and teacher aides, people were getting upset that teacher aides were not really upset. They were a little bit confused, going, teacher aides don't understand their role in Tier 1 instruction. Well, we hadn't shared in what the research showed, how teacher aides should be used, or they didn't even have a manual. So, of course, what do you need to do? Tell them the research, keep telling them that, show them. So we created a manual, and now as part of when they start, they observe another teacher aide in practice as well. And keep upskilling. Probably be making sure you're relentless with your focus on teaching and learning. That's what you're here for. And you're always going to have other things that will come up, but make sure that's a priority. Other thing is making sure, you're learning, the leadership team are learning, but your staff are learning as well. So we're looking at TAPL at the moment. So every teacher has their purple EDI book. And so, we're reading a chapter together, they're summarising it, sharing their summary. So we're learning together. And probably just being willing to be challenged on assumptions. I was quite challenged by someone who said, you're doing, they didn't really say, they just asked good questions, and it really hit me that we were doing balanced literacy. We weren't doing structured literacy. And then even just the making sure that, as a leader, if you stop learning, everyone else will. It's so important to do that. And even just probably the big focus is make sure you're focusing on Tier 1 first. And even consistent. Yeah, you go. Sorry. I even consistency. Teachers want to be the best teachers they can be, and if they're getting conflicting stories, if our students are getting conflicting stories, of course they're not going to thrive and be the best that they can be. And
No, that's great. Bethany, that for me captures a lot of what I wanted to yarn with you about. Is there anything else you want to tell me or we haven't talked about? I mean, I know we haven't covered every question, but are there big chunks that you think, I really want to tell you this story or I want to tell you about that?
No, not really. Probably the big thing is, Simon, the literacy minimum guarantee has kind of it's been it truly has been an absolute blessing to us, because it's made us collaborate so much more with other schools, with people who I've never met before, asking questions, and people have been so generous, so surprised of how generous they have been, and they're all in this together, and I mean not generous, people generous from schools in independent schools, Tasmania, but interstate schools, the government sector, even Catholic sector, even our literacy allocations, people I didn't even know but had heard about me. I sent them our literacy allocations. They'd never met me in person. And I said, could you look at this and give us feedback? And they, they could have charged me hundreds of dollars. They just, gave us feedback and, even said, so... That's awesome. Yeah, it's been very good, Simon. And it has been it's just made us very clear at Northern, extremely clear.
And I think that's the two words I kept hearing through our discussion was clarity and consistency. We're really clear about what we do, and we're just going to make sure we're really consistent.
And the feedback from students is just wonderful. Even things like this, I'll read it out. Go for it. Daily review is now my favourite part of the day because it's always the same but different. You get better at it each time and you get to try your hardest. This is one of the Year 5 students. This is really good for me because I have ADHD. So, students are loving. They know what's expected. It's familiar, and they can have success.
I love it.
Thanks for listening to The Learning Landscape.